All right, Shalom. First, I'll start by saying all praise to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles that rule well, and salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth and sincerity. Now, this is a quick lesson on, it says, Jacob Blake's family holds protest in Kenosha ahead of officer charging decision. Right, and, Jacob Blake was the guy that got shot in Kenosha 7 times in the back by the police. So I'm going to play this clip, and then I'm going to get to some precepts.
The city shutting down. Streets are preparing for possible unrest ahead of a charging decision in the Jacob Blake case. Blake was shot by a Kenosha police officer back in August. The shooting sparked days of fiery unrest and the deaths of 2 protesters. The Blake family rallied tonight with a march in Kenosha.
And the city council also discussing safety measures for the days ahead. WGN's Dana Rebick is in Kenosha, Wisconsin with the latest developments. Dana.
Well, the mayor of Kenosha reports that the district attorney told him he would have a charging decision within the first 2 weeks of January, and we are hearing that decision could come as soon as tomorrow. This as the community and Jacob Blake's family members brace for what's coming.
Let's stand up and make some noise. Yes, sir. Let's be heard around the world. Yes, sir.
Tonight, the father of Jacob Blake, along with his family and members of the community, marched in Kenosha, awaiting a charging decision from the district attorney on whether Officer Rustin Shesky will face criminal charges in the August 23rd shooting of Blake.
Police Officer Shesky needs to be fired, indicted, have his day in court, and convicted. Attempted murder. He tried to kill my son. He didn't try to take my son down. He tried to kill my son and could have killed my grandchildren.
29-year-old Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in the back while trying to get into his vehicle after officers responded to a domestic incident. The Wisconsin Department of Justice said Blake had later admitted to having a knife in his vehicle, but it was unclear if he was reaching for it. Officer Shesky was placed on administrative leave pending the investigation. The incident spurring civil unrest in Kenosha. Tonight, streets are already barricaded, fencing around the courthouse. The city's Common Council meeting tonight discussing an emergency declaration.
Violence, arson, looting, vandalism, they cannot be tolerated.
We believe Kenosha has an important chance now to avoid recreating the conditions that contributed to what happened last summer. A heavy-handed militarized response, along with violating the rights of people speaking up for accountability and for racial justice, made that bad situation even worse.
Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers confirmed around 500 National Guard members have been mobilized in Kenosha ahead of the announcement. Jacob Blake's family feels the DA has made its decision. The mayor denies knowing what that is.
The city has no knowledge. Not the chief, not me, not anyone else in the city has any knowledge of what the decision is.
Think about how it looks. What is the National Guard for? They're going to deliver mail? They got ice cream cones? What do you think they're here for? We're ready.
Now, some businesses here in Kenosha we have seen have already boarded up as a precaution. Now, tonight, the Common Council did approve that emergency declaration. It would go in effect the day of this announcement, and the mayor says could last up to 8 days afterwards if needed. That would involve a citywide curfew, and the last time in August that curfew was in effect was from 8 p.m. until 7 a.m. We'll have much more on this story coming up on our news at 10. For now, live in Kenosha, Dana Rebick, WGN News.
Thank you, Dana.
All right.
And fallout from the protests.
So like y'all have one more. This is the outcome. So I can do it in the beginning.
Hi everyone, I'm Diane Macedo. We're coming on the air because the Kenosha County District Attorney is about to announce whether any of the Kenosha police officers involved in the shooting of Jacob Blake will face charges. Let's listen.
Conversation, that it be a real conversation, not a simplistic one, and that we talk accurately and thoroughly about the law and the facts of this case. I want to thank Noble Ray, who is the neutral, independent use of force expert in this case, found for this case by the Attorney General of the state of Wisconsin. I want to thank him for the report that he prepared in this case and the conclusions regarding use of force and police training that he has offered us. And also because he is present today and he will have a chance to present those findings to all of you and then to be part of answering questions. I expect us to conclude at 5 today, and again, I expect my presentation and Chief Ray's to be lengthy, so I apologize in advance if there's not a lot of opportunity for question. But I do feel that the occasion and the tragedy that happened on August 23rd is deserving of a lengthy discussion by both the prosecutor, myself, and by Noble Ray here today. Again, I want to speak to the tragedy of what happened. This was a tragedy first and foremost for Jacob Blake, who still suffers from grievous injuries. These are life-lasting injuries that he suffers from today. I had an opportunity to tell him what I was going to announce to all of you today in a phone call just a few minutes ago, and his update is that he is still on a daily basis suffering the injuries that he first suffered, of course, on August 23rd. This is a tragedy for those who love Jacob Blake. He is a father, son, and a nephew, and I want to acknowledge and say that I really feel like the Blake family and Mr. Blake himself have tried to be truly positive forces in the community, asking the community to have peaceful but real dialogue about change that I think is necessary in this community, outlined by the issues exposed in this case. And so I thank them for their positive contributions, and certainly there is a tragedy here for them as well. I have thought several times and had a quick conversation with Mr. Blake today about his children who were in that vehicle. And I have thought, as I considered the evidence many times in these last few months, what the impact to his children that seeing those gunshots would be in their futures. And so I was able to briefly speak to him about that today as well. Clearly, this has been a tragedy for this community. We have seen, based on the results of what happened in the aftermath, that there are persons in this community or outside the community, people who come here, whatever guise that is, that are capable of expressing their anger in these moments by burning things down. The challenge now, and part of what I hope to begin in my conversation today, is rather than burning things down, can moments of tragedy like this be an opportunity to build things? Are there times and circumstances that are tragic where communities in their healing process can begin to make themselves a better community that allows for all points of views and allows for all the parties, even those who feel so disenfranchised, to have a voice? And then I don't want to leave out the officers whose entire careers, in fact their whole lives, have been judged by a few seconds that they conducted themselves on these shifts, and to their families, because there's a tragedy there. They've clearly been impacted in the several months that this decision has been awaited. I want to speak briefly in apology to all the people in the Kenosha community who have suffered in any way from the fact that this date and time of this decision was kept a secret, although possibly the worst kept secret in the history of secrets. But certainly there are many people in this community who felt like their own sense of security or their economic security, their businesses, were impacted by the fact that no one set a particular date, a month in advance, etc., to announce this decision. And that was done deliberately because of security concerns. So the advice we were given is that we could not do that. And so again, I apologize to persons out there hearing this today who are justifiably angered that they were inconvenienced in those major ways because they were not able to be given advance notice. Today, there's a very narrow decision that must be made. And so I will be announcing today the question of whether the District Attorney's Office, in its professional judgment, feels that there is sufficient admissible evidence to convince a jury beyond a reasonable doubt that Officer Shesky or any of the other Kenosha officers shot Jacob Blake unlawfully or committed any other offense. That's the task. It's a narrow task today. It's a legal and professional task. But I want to say that I feel in many ways completely inadequate for this moment. I have never in my life had a moment where I had to contend with explicit or implicit bias based on my race. I have never had a moment in my whole life where I had to fear for my safety with either police officers or individuals in authority. And yet I have had conversations with people that I trust and admire who tell me they do have that life experience. So that is an authentic experience I do not have and I do not bring to this decision today. Conversely, I have never been an individual who has left my family and gone to a shift at work knowing I could face armed persons who might try to end my life. And further knowing that in the course of my job, in facing those armed people who might try to end my life, I might not have the option to run away or to hide as any private citizen rationally would. And I know that to be an authentic experience, and that is not an authentic experience I bring to this decision today either. What I do bring to this decision is almost 3 decades as a prosecutor making charging decisions, which is what I'm being asked to do today. I have my entire professional life tried to keep this community safe. Tens of thousands of times I have looked at sets of facts and had to make a decision whether there were sufficient facts that fit the law that would allow the prosecutors, including myself, to be able to prove a case to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt. I have personally taken more than 250 cases to jury trial. So I think I can confidently say where I do have authentic experience and expertise is in an ability to talk to a community and to all of you about what evidence would be admissible in a jury trial if anyone was charged, and whether that evidence would be sufficient to get a conviction. I also have a complete and absolute commitment that that charging decision must be made independent of outside forces or the political winds that swirl about in this year and this era that we're in. It's an absolute commitment I have. And I hope that in these troubled times that our community and maybe America has perhaps rarely been in greater need of a neutral, professional person to referee these disputes in the criminal justice system. And so I provide that professional judgment, and I bring that to the evidence today. So, the first thing I want to do is talk about a statute in Wisconsin designed specifically for the investigative and charging process for fatal police shootings.
Slovakia. I don't know if this is the right one. It should be, but give me a second. Alright, Slovakia, it was right before I pressed the pause, but here it goes.
And it is my decision now that I announce today before you that no Kenosha law enforcement officer in this case will be charged with any criminal offense based on the facts and the laws as I will describe them to you now. So it is...
Right, so that's the point. Jake is not getting any justice, man. And that's because we are in captivity. We're in our enemy's land. Esau still got us here and they were supposed to let us go. So Esau is going to receive double in the kingdom of heaven. Esau is going to have to pay for the things that he has done. But Jake, don't want to hear what the Lord got to say and, rather take it to their enemy for justice. How you go to your enemy for justice, man? But this 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 1, Dare any of you having a matter against another go to the law before the unjust and not before the saints? Right, the saints is in the scriptures, man. The Lord tell us how to deal with these nations, via the law, statutes, commandments in our history. It says, do you not know that the saints shall judge the world? And if the world shall be judged by you, are you unworthy to judge the smallest matters? Right, man. So, we have that authority, and we're supposed to be taking heed to what it says in the scriptures and lining up. But Jake want to do everything but that, and don't want to recognize who their enemy is. So that's why you get things like this that happen. And it's been happening for a nice amount of time now. No justice. Plus, we're not even in that time, of building and holding hands with this Edomite devil, This Hosea chapter 4, verse 6, it says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, the truth, from the scriptures on how you're supposed to be dealing with your enemy, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. A lot of Jakes still call themselves African Americans or Muslims or whatnot, man. Instead of calling themselves Israelites and following after the true way that the Bible is interpreted. But it says, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power, I will also forget thy children. Right? So, the Lord could have headed to where he killed Jacob Blake and killed his children, and a lot of that stuff is coming, but Jake can't be going to Esau for no justice and no righteous judgments, because Esau is our enemy, man, and it's only gonna get worse, man. And we prophesied in Kenosha for a couple years. Our family in Kenosha, we lived in Kenosha, etc. So we know a lot of these people that's going through this right now. And I didn't see Jacob Blake on occasions a couple times before, man. But time for Jake them to make their mind up, man. Because you got a lot of guys out there that woke up to the fact that they're Israelites, but they're not on the highways and byways. They still doing like little shit and whatnot, They trying to stand up and do what's right. But they got to come all the way. Because we at the end. We at the end. And the only way you're going to be protected and get an honorable death is through the truth. And I'm going to end it off with this scripture right here. Because Esau is going to get his judgment, soon. This Luke chapter 16, verse 19, it says, there was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen and fared sumptuously every day. And that's talking about the elites, and them being rich, man. It says, and there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, and Lazarus represents the 12 tribes of Israel, which was laid at his gate full of sores, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. So the money that we get from Esau, an example is a good example is these basketball players, these rappers, football players. They're only being fed crumbs, even though they get millions of dollars, because Esau has billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, and trillions of dollars, and hundred trillions of dollars. You might have a handful of Jakes that got $1 billion, but they don't have tens of billions or hundreds of billions, but it ain't nowhere near half or a quarter of us that got that, I mean, I don't know the numbers, but Jake, you only hear about um, like 3, 4, 5 people. Oprah, the BET creator person, I think Michael Jordan, and those are the only ones I've really heard about. You don't really hear about no real Jakes being no billionaires, man. So we getting really fed crumbs, man. You know, it says, "In desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table, moreover the dogs came and licked his sores." Right, and the dogs represents the other nations. We buy the other nations in our neighborhoods and making money off of us. So we, you know, yeah, they're just making money off us, man. It says, "And it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried," right? And this is talking about in the kingdom of heaven. "And in hell he lifted up his eyes, being in torments, and seeth Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom." Right? Hell represents they're going to be in slavery, going through all types of hell in the kingdom of heaven, man. It says, "And he cried and said," and Esau got the nerve to cry, "Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus, that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue." Right? They're gonna want us to get up off of them, ease that slavery and that hell that we finna get them through the spirit and power. Yeah, about Shema Shah when we get to heaven. They're gonna want us to cool off and cool down, ease up. It says, "Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus, that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame." But Abraham said, "Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime receivest thy good things." Right? Esau running this world right now. Even down to like I won't say all the way down to the bottom, but these Edomites get better things and treated superior than everybody, man. They get the credit cards and the jobs, etc., man. You know. It says, "But Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime receivest thy good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things." Right? What's going on with Jake and them getting killed and hung and stuff of that nature, getting poisoned, etc. We are receiving evil things. But now he is comforted. In the kingdom of heaven, that's when our comfort is going to come. "And thou art tormented." Right? What goes around comes around. You reap what you sow. Y'all put us in slavery. In the kingdom of heaven, y'all going in slavery. And y'all not getting no mercy. "And besides all this, between give me a second. "And besides all this, between us and you there is a great gulf fixed, so that they which would pass from hence to you cannot, neither can they pass to us that will come from thence." Right, man. The kingdom of heaven is only for the Israelites. The Edomites, y'all not getting the kingdom of heaven. Y'all getting slavery. Y'all can't come into the kingdom thinking y'all finna rule and be at peace and everything after everything that y'all did, man. That's the way the Lord set it up. It says, "Then he said, I pray thee, therefore, Father, that thou wouldest send him to my father's house. For I have 5 brethren, that he may testify unto them, lest they also come into this place of torment. Abraham saith unto him, They have Moses and the prophets. Let them hear them." Right, man? So, the dude that died, wish he can be brought back to life and instruct his brethren, so that they can make it to the kingdom of heaven and enjoy the luxuries of the kingdom of heaven instead of, being in shackles. And the only way, they can do that is by, being a brother to Israel. But the Lord ain't having that. The agenda was set a long time ago, and it's always going to be the agenda for Esau to be the devil and Jacob to be the righteous, and Esau to be paid back in the kingdom of heaven. That's the only way this program is going to be played out. It says, "For I have 5 brethren, that he may testify unto them, lest they also come into this place of torment." Salakia. It says, "Abraham said unto him, They have Moses and the prophets." Moses and the prophets just represents Moses, meaning the law, and then the prophets. "Let them hear them." And he said, Nay, Father Abraham, but if one went unto them from the dead, they will repent. And he said unto him, If they hear not Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded, though one rose from the dead, man. So Esau got hell coming in the kingdom of heaven. Y'all winning on this side, you know. But in the kingdom of heaven, y'all going into slavery and getting that same torment times a million, you know. Plus, you know, or plus we're gonna have spiritual powers. So, you know, that's the judgment of Yahweh Shemel Shai, right out the book. There ain't nothing that I didn't made up. The apostles and the brothers that made up. That's right out the scriptures, man. You know, so with that being said, call Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai, double honors to the elders and apostles that rule well, and salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth and sincerity. Shalom.